The U.S. Army Corps of Engineers defines structural health monitoring, or SHM, as the science of making accurate condition assessments about the current and future ability of an asset or system of, particularly relating to infrastructure, to perform the intended design function or functions based on sensor and inspection data, numerical engineering models, and statistical analyses, according to Claudia Marin Artieta and others, in a 2023 article in a structural engineering journal published by the American Society of Civil Engineers. Our product, InfraGuard, improves the shortcomings of current structural health monitoring methods. Our team, composed of engineers and finance experts, balances the technicality of engineering with the pragmatic economics of business. Structural health monitoring, as it stands, does work despite its flaws. Our product reduces failures in this necessary process and improves what current methods already do well, while improving return on investment and community benefit. Infrastructure monitoring already exists, but there are a number of problems with current methodology. Current methods are expensive. Installation and maintenance is costly due to the expansive network of wired setups, according to Parsafar in a 2025 article in a journal called Electrical Systems and Information Technology. The inability to maintain structures before they fail is much more costly, both monetarily and materially, than it would be to prevent the failure in the first place, according to Gurmay Azanal in a 2025 article in iManager's journal on structural engineering. The reduced monitoring capability may result in excess use of materials and incorrect assembly during construction, which creates unnecessary expenditure, also according to Azanal. Monitoring infrastructure, such as highways, often requires inspection by trained personnel, which costs time and money, according to Yasuke Yajima in a 2021 article in Computing in Civil Engineering Journal. Current methods also have limited capabilities. The scalability of these is limited in urban areas, according to Parsafar in 2025, which goes in hand with the practical limit on the number and placement of sensors on infrastructure, which reduces the ability to detect damage, according to Marin Artieta in 2023. Current vibration-based methods are able to detect stiffness changes in structures as a whole, but are unable to pinpoint where damage might be, also according to Marin Artieta. These sensors require periodic data collection as they are unable to transmit data by themselves, according to Parsafar in 2025. These methods also don't produce meaningful data. There are no data analysis tools that make data understandable and usable for decision-making, according to Marin Artieta in 2023. Analysis of this data sometimes requires turning 3D data into 2D, which results in a loss of information, creating an obstacle for decision-making, according to Yajima in 2021. Our company solved these issues with our AI-powered infrastructure monitoring program, and JJ will explain how.
Now that Trey helped us understand why our current methods of monitoring infrastructure are no longer enough, I'm here to present you guys with the solution, and that's InfraGuard. And no, InfraGuard is not a subscription-based service. It is a one-time payment system where you can reap the benefits along the way. So let's get into it. InfraGuard delivers a powerful real-time infrastructure monitoring solution by combining AI and IoT to improve safety, efficiency, and scalability. InfraGuard replaces outdated inspection methods by automating continuous monitoring, which helps engineers detect risks before they escalate. And traditionally, infrastructure like bridges, dams, and highways are inspected only a few times a year. and sometimes even less, which is crazy to think about. These inspections rely heavily on human observation, which means that subtle but dangerous warning signs like microfractures or vibrations can go unnoticed until it's too late. Shayak and Seneha wrote an article about predictive monitoring, and they point out that these outdated methods fail to address the growing complexity of modern infrastructure, which often leads to unexpected failures and shortened service life. But InfraGuard solves this problem by combining the Internet of Things or IoT sensors with artificial intelligence models to provide constant real-time monitoring. These sensors collect data on key indicators like temperature changes, stress levels, and vibrations, and then they feed that data into an AI system that watches for patterns and abnormalities. If something starts to go wrong, like the small crack starts to rapidly grow, the system alerts engineers immediately, and they are able to take action. There's an article titled AI in Civil Infrastructure and Healthcare Monitoring, written by Mondale and Chen, and that emphasizes that AI-based structural health monitoring systems dramatically improve the early detection of potential hazards. These systems allow engineers to act faster, repair damage earlier, and ultimately extend the life of the structure while keeping the public safe. And speaking of safety, my bad. Speaking of safety, InfraGuard actually plays a huge factor in safety and is very important in our system. With predictive analytics, InfraGuard improves safety by using advanced machine learning algorithms. Beyond just reacting to problems, InfraGuard actually predicts them. It uses cutting-edge machine learning algorithms, including long short-term memory or LSTM networks and convolutional neural networks or CNNs to analyze sensor data and predict when and where a failure might happen. These algorithms, they look at trends in the data and tiny changes in vibrations over time or temperature shifts under pressure and other subtle signs are many of the things that these algorithms look like, which then the AI can make intelligent predictions about the structural health. Now, going back to the article about predictive monitoring that was written by Shayak and Seneha, they point out that these models are more than just impressive. They're actually highly accurate. In testing, some of these systems have reached over 95% accuracy in detecting early signs of deterioration, which is crazy because we're just in the early stages. 95% easily can go up, easily. And that means that civil engineers and city planners gain precious time to plan targeted maintenance, reduce emergency repair costs, and most importantly, prevent dangerous failures from ever happening. And that kind of insight wasn't possible with the traditional inspection cycles. But now with InfraGuard, we can focus more. We can move from reactive maintenance to proactive infrastructure management. InfraGuard also delivers responsive, scalable performance using edge computing and transparent AI systems. InfraGuard is designed to perform at scale. Instead of relying on central servers that can become bottlenecks, it uses edge computing, which means that the data is being processed locally at the sensor sites. and this local processing significantly reduces delays in data transmission and eliminates network congestions. And according to Villages and Company, they wrote an article titled AI Applications for Real-Time Analysis and Predictions. And they say that this makes the system more responsive and reliable, even across large networks of infrastructure. However, speed and scale aren't enough, especially in critical infrastructure. Decision makers also need to trust what the system is telling them. That's why our InfraGuard includes explainable AI tools that clearly show why an alert was triggered in the first place. And this transparency makes it easier for engineers, city officials, and stakeholders to trust this technology. And as UCAR and Company state in the article that they wrote titled Key Components, Trustworthiness, and Future Trends, they state that building trust through explainability is essential in high-stakes environments, and it helps drive wider adoption of these intelligent systems. So we've seen InfraGuard and how it just doesn't offer smart technology. It also offers smart strategy for monitoring and maintaining our infrastructure. So I'll go ahead and hand it over to Maria, where she will explore how this technology also makes financial sense by reducing long-term costs and avoiding emergency repairs. Thank you. And here are my notes.
Looked at the high-level benefits of InfraGuard, but now let's dive into one of the most important aspects, its long-term financial value and the measurable community benefits it delivers. InfraGuard provides value not only through cutting-edge technology, but also by enabling smarter spending, improved risk management, and stronger public safety. These are benefits that cities, agencies, and taxpayers can see and feel. Let's start with smarter spending. Traditionally, public infrastructure operates on a reactive model. You wait for something to break, then you fix it. This is costly, inefficient, and often dangerous. InfraGuard flips that model completely through predictive maintenance. Instead of reacting to damage, we can now anticipate it, and that's a game changer. According to a landmark study by Jordan and Benjovic, published in 2006, predictive maintenance can dramatically reduce life cycle costs. How is this? By addressing issues before they cause catastrophic failure. That means that fewer emergency repairs, fewer road closures, and far less money wasted on avoidable disasters. Let's put that into practical terms. Say a bridge joint begins to wear down. In a traditional system, that might go unnoticed until it fails. Then suddenly you're dealing with a major shutdown, costly repairs, and possible safety incidents. But with InfraGuard, sensors monitor the joint in real time. They detect stress levels, wear and temperature changes, then alert maintenance teams before the situation becomes urgent. That kind of foresight minimizes downtime, avoids expensive reconstruction, and lets municipalities plan their budgets with greater precision. Even better, AI-enabled systems like those described by Lee and Jin in an article published in 2016 refine this process by learning over time. These smart systems create data-driven maintenance schedules, meaning resources are used only where they're needed, when they're needed. No more redundant inspections, no more guesswork. This translates directly into better resource allocation, especially in cities working with limited budgets. And we're not just saving money, we're maximizing value. With fewer unplanned disruptions, public infrastructure stays functional longer and more reliably. Next, let's talk about risk management. This is where InfraGuard provides immense value, because infrastructure failure isn't just expensive, it's very dangerous. Early detection plays a critical role in reducing both safety hazards and legal or financial liability. Imagine a crack forming in a public transit tunnel. Left unnoticed, it could compromise the structural integrity of the entire line. But if sensors detect stress patterns or vibrations consistent with early damage, you can act before anyone's at risk. This isn't theoretical. It's happening now, and it's saving lives and millions of dollars. Early warnings help prevent accidents that could otherwise lead to personal injuries, lawsuits, and massive regulatory penalties. There's also the benefit of compliance. Regulations around infrastructure safety are becoming more complex and more demanding. Real-time monitoring helps cities and contractors stay ahead of those changes. Rather than scrambling to meet new rules after they're enforced, InfraGuard helps infrastructure managers maintain ongoing compliance, making sure bridges, roads, and public systems meet legal and public expectations. It's also a matter of trust. When public sees that infrastructure is being actively monitored and maintained, confidence grows. And that's crucial in building support for long-term infrastructure investment. Now, let's bring it all back to the community. Smarter maintenance and better risk management aren't just technical benefits. They have direct, measurable impacts on people's daily lives. For one, reliable infrastructure promotes public confidence and supports economic growth. When people know they can rely on the roads, bridges, and utilities, everything from commuting to commerce runs more smoothly. As Wang and Kay wrote in a 2024 article, infrastructure reliability is closely tied to regional development. When infrastructure works, businesses stay open, deliveries arrive on time, and people can safely get to school, work, or the hospital. Now imagine the alternative. Sudden road closures, water outages, collapsed pipelines. These don't just cause inconvenience, they can halt economic activity, create health risks, and undermine the reputation of local governments. By preventing failures before they happen, InfraGuard minimizes those disruptions and keeps communities running. There's also a huge impact on emergency services. When infrastructure does fail, let's say a power line collapses or a storm drain backs up, it's not just the maintenance crew that gets involved. It often pulls in emergency responders, public safety officers, traffic management, and more, and that's very expensive. But with InfraGuard, early detection and condition monitoring, many of these emergencies never happen. As Lynch and Lowe state in their article published in 2006, this results in lower emergency response costs, reduced public risk, and overall improved quality of life. Think about a parent relying on public transport to get their child to daycare, or a senior citizen depending on safe sidewalks and accessible utilities. InfraGuard helps make sure those systems work consistently and safely. So, when we talk about InfraGuard, we're not just talking about a monitoring system. We're talking about a smarter, safer, and more financially sustainable way to manage the systems we all rely on every single day. InfraGuard means fewer surprises, smarter budgets, and safer communities, and an infrastructure that earns the public's trust. Now that we looked at how these benefits translate into real-world impact and savings, I'll pass it over to Tyler, who will walk you through why these improvements make InfraGuard a smart investment decision, not just from a policy standpoint, but also from a financial and strategic one.
Thank you, Maria. When Trey opened, he shared how the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers defines structural engineering and health monitoring as the science of assessing whether a structure can perform as it was designed. That's from Marin Arditia and his team in 2023. But while this process is essential, it does have some serious flaws. And those flaws are costing lives and also billions of dollars. And that's why I would like to leave you with this point. InfraGuard is a cost-saving, risk-reducing, and safety-enhancing investment. A 2024 study by Mohammed and his colleagues found that technology like ours can extend infrastructure lifespans and cut emergency repair expenses by up to a whopping 30%. And let's not get this wrong, that's not just a small improvement, but that's a transformational return on investment in real-world projects. So let's take a walk back through what we've shown you so far. First, traditional inspection methods are expensive and oftentimes inefficient. PARSFAR's 2025 research shows just how costly installation and upkeep can be. ASNA, also in 2025, points out that reactive repairs, which is waiting until something breaks to go fix it as opposed to being proactive, can multiply cost many times over compared to preventing the problem in the first place. And Yajima's 2021 works highlight that these inspections oftentimes rely on human labor, unfortunately, which obviously just takes time and can't scale fast enough for growing cities. And so what's the bottom line here? The current approach is financially wasteful and irresponsible, and also operationally limited. Second, we introduce a solution. InfraGuard's AI and LOTE platform. According to Shaikh and Shinna in 2025, AI models like the ones that we use to detect early signs of structural damage have more than 95% accuracy. Mondel and Chin's 2022 research shows that this can outperform outdated inspection cycles that often miss critical warning signs. And Villages CH and his team in 2024 explained that the edge that we have on computing allows data to be processed with the right at sensor site so that alerts are instant and both actionable as well. That means faster decisions, more accurate alerts, and less wasted money. And thirdly, we talked about long-term value, both financially and socially. Ali Akbar Flouizi and Flouizi's 2024 study shows that predictive maintenance changes entire economics of infrastructure, saving money and reducing risk. And Jardine and Beljevic's way back in 2006 proved that predictive maintenance lowers lifecycle costs. And Lee and Jen back in 2016, their work shows that smart monitoring improves budget allocation by reducing unnecessary inspections. And so let's cut to the bottom line here. It's not just about the money. We also see that Wang and Key in 2024 found that reliable infrastructure does boost public confidence and supports economic stability. Additionally, Lynch and Lowe's 2006 research showed that safer infrastructure reduces emergency response costs and improves overall quality of life. So here's the basic point. InfraGuard is a smart investment for cities, communities, and for people who back it. And so here's the call of action I'm going to leave you with. By investing in InfraGuard now, you're helping us launch in the areas that need it most. And that means recurring subscription revenue, real-time case studies that drive adoption, and most importantly, fewer lives lost and fewer dollars being spent to preventable, missable failures that we can avoid. Pajik Bak and his colleagues in 2023 showed that early funding accelerates adoption of smart infrastructure. And Sakar and his team in 2025 emphasized that scalable AI systems are most effective when deployed before, not after or during, but before disaster strikes. And so we've shown you the problem, We've shown you the solution, and we've proven the impact that InfraGuard can have today. And so now is honestly the time to act. And so let's move from just identifying the risk to leading the solution. Let's make InfraGuard the new standard of infrastructure and waste reliability. Thank you for your time, and I appreciate your investment into today.